While we wait for all the viewers to enter the Zoom, I want to remind you that Vote 411 is now available. Vote 411 can provide you with information about the candidates you will be voting for and has a printout feature so you can print out your choices and take it with you to the polls. And now for tonight's forum. Good evening. I'm Anitra Steele, the chair of the Forums Committee. Welcome to our forum for the Raytown Board of Education. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kansas City, Jackson, Clay, and Platte counties, the Raytown Area Chamber of Commerce, and Alpha Kappa Alpha Advocate for Social Justice Initiative of chapters Beta Omega and Chi Tau Omega. This forum is recorded and is available on the League's website, LWVKC, and on YouTube. The League of Women Voters is a trusted grassroots, nonpartisan organization whose members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we neither endorse or oppose candidates or political parties, we are directly involved with the sharing of important issues. Our mission is to empower voters and defend our democracy. We envision a democracy where every citizen has the knowledge, the right, the desire, and the confidence to participate. Our membership is open to everyone. I'd like for you to know the other League members volunteering with me. Stephanie Revels is our timekeeper, and our Zoom is monitored by Terry Lane. The public has sent in the questions via the League's website, lwvkc.org. Tonight, we welcome our moderator, League member, and former League president, Sandy Eads. Sandy, take it away.
Thanks, Anitra. I'm delighted to join you for the Candidates Forum for the Raytown Board of Education. Tonight, we'll hear the candidates running for the opportunity to serve their community as a school board member. The Board of Education is a volunteer representative body elected by the voters of the district. The board provides governance for the district as its top elected officials. The superintendent of schools reports directly to the board. There are 2 seats open. The successful candidates will serve a 3-year term. Forums last approximately 90 minutes, and I'll ask each candidate the same question selected from those submitted by the public. The order of candidate responses has been determined by random rotation. Each candidate will be given 90 seconds to respond to each question and 2 minutes for a closing statement. All candidates running for this position have been invited and agreed to attend. We welcome the candidates participating in tonight's forum. So as usual, just answer the question I give you and stick to the topic. No rebuttals, but if you do have some, you might save it for your 2-minute closing remarks. So let's begin. I'll get the questions up here. And we're going to start with Jordan Jameson. Jordan, please introduce yourself. Tell us why you want to serve on the Raytown Board of Education and what your qualifications are to serve in this position.
So hi, I'd like to introduce myself as Jordan Jamerson. I've lived in the Raytown community for over 20 years now. My parents have lived here. The only time I haven't lived actually in Raytown was the time of going to college. I've grown up through the entire system. Went to Robinson Elementary School, went to Raytown Middle School, Raytown Central the first year, graduated. I'm a proud Blue Jay all day, so I bleed blue in 2013. Then got my degree in education, got my master's also in education administration, and I taught at the high school for 5 years. And so when I say that I truly understand what teachers, what students, and what parents are feeling in the community, I truly have been in the trenches. I love Raytown so much. I've moved my family here, and I have not been teaching for the past 3 years and wanting to get back into education. I definitely think that I am the perfect candidate to help lead our school district in the perfect right direction. I really care about raising our attendance rate, raising our graduation rate, helping our community out, but also empowering teachers and letting teachers, have the ability to actually teach the material the way they need to. I believe that every student that comes through our schools deserves to have an amazing experience, and I believe that I'm the perfect candidate for that.
Thank you, Jordan. Next, let's hear from Edna Adelusola.
Oh, you're muted, Edna.
Edna? Edna, you're muted.
I
There
don't
you
know how
go.
that happened, but good evening. My name is Edna Adelusala, and I am a resident of Raytown. Lived in Ohio, though, I must say, for 30 years. Moved back here in 2017, where I've lived in Raytown since. I am a proud parent of a 30-year-old educator who is an educator in the KCPS system. I am also a foster parent. I have children that are in the high school systems here in Raytown. And the reason that I'm running for the Raytown School Board is that I have always, my entire life, been an advocate for children through either volunteerism or through my professions as a social worker, a missionary, a police officer, and a business owner for over 20 years. My husband and I have been married for 42 of the years, and we are very, very entrenched in community service and in helping and advocating for children.
Thank you very much. Joe Kramer.
Okay, good
You're up.
evening. I'm Joe Kramer. I'm a lifelong resident of Raytown, born in 1964. The only time I was not in Raytown was when I spent my time in the United States Navy. I've got a background in business management. I manage 2 service departments at Ford dealerships. On the side, I owned a small commercial cleaning business, had 15 employees. So from ownership to management, I understand a profit and loss statement, and the school district's budget would be the profit and loss statement for the school district. I volunteered in our church youth league. I attend Graceway here in Raytown, and when they had a youth baseball ministry, I took part in that, both coaching and umpiring. And I'm just interested in the education that the children receive. Currently, Raytown schools are ranked 507th out of 531 in the state of Missouri. I find that quite alarming because when I attended Raytown schools, it was between us and Kirkwood out of St. Louis for #1 in the state. So that's been a sharp decline. And with my management experience and background and my willingness to speak up, but also to listen to people, I wrote about the Raytown School District and had teachers.
Go ahead and wrap up, please.
Okay. And I had teachers reaching out to me, letting me know what was going on within the school district. So I got a good grasp for what's happening.
Thanks very much, Mr. Kramer. Sam Madsen.
Hi, yeah. My name's Sam Madsen. My wife and I bought our first home here in Raytown a little over 6 months or so ago. So we're real excited. That's I've been telling people we're pot committed. All of my net worth is here. But we're relatively newcomers. Outside of that, why I want to serve. My oldest just turned 3 last Saturday. We have another one who's turning 1 next month, and Lord willing, there'll be more to come shortly. And we didn't really look at any of the school district dynamics before we purchased our home. And it was only afterwards that we saw it. And then I started watching board meetings, and I'm the sort of person who I find a little thread and I just start pulling it. And I found myself down a pretty deep rabbit hole. And I was looking at education and board governance and just realized like this is probably a place where I could serve our community, and figured I'd put it to the people to see if I'm a good fit for it or not. My qualifications, I have a master's in business administration. I currently serve as a mergers and acquisition advisor for an investment bank. So I'm used to complex transactions and let's say holding several stakeholders' values in mind as you kind of complete transactions. Outside of that, I'm really passionate about nutrition for our students. I really want to see healthy food options available for everybody. You know, the classics, stuff we've been eating for thousands of years, minimally processed, whole foods, high protein, good fats.
Thanks very much. Jules Snedden, tell us about you.
Thank you, Sandy. My name is Jules Snedden. I'm a mother of 8. I have 2 of my kids in the junior high system at Raytown School District and 4 of my grandchildren. And as a mother, grandmother, as someone who has been a teacher I was a teacher for over 7 years, both junior high and high school. And I did dual enrollment as well as a professor at UMKC. And have been in and worked in higher ed for a little over 7 years as well. I understand the importance of education and the balancing act of both our financial responsibilities as a district, but also our responsibilities to the children and to the parents in our district. And so for that reason, I'm concerned about our truancy. As a district, I would like to see us working with some before and after school tutoring programs. And I would like to see us supporting our parents and our grandparents that are raising our kids in our district. And as someone who is very involved in Raytown, I'm on the Parks and Recs board. I'm the newly decided executive director at Raytown Main Street Association. It's super important to me that I am involved in my community as a stakes person and as a just as a mom and grandma.
Thanks very much. Bobby Salisbury, wrap it up for us.
Give me a second, please.
Sure.
Hello, I am Bobby Salisbury. I'm running for re-election to the Raytown Quality School Board. Here's a little bit about why I'm running again, because I have to finish the work that I've started here. Currently, I serve as the chair of the policy committee. I will continue to work on behalf of students and staff, ensuring policies are up to date, relevant, and being monitored appropriately. This also includes a focus on mental health. As a board member, I will continue to advocate for encouraging initiatives that reduce stigmas around mental health and foster a supportive community through preventive measures. A collective approach between the board, leadership, staff, and the community are needed to ensure accommodations for diverse learning needs are available to prevent students from being overlooked. I am an advocate for children. Children are still first priority in my life. And I have a passion for the little ones and the big ones too. But my passion is for the good and the well-being of each child.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The second question, we're going to start Joe Kramer on this one. Joe, one issue do you believe deserves your immediate attention should you be elected?
Thank you very much for asking that question. That's a great question. I believe the security in the schools are lax. I hear reports from parents about problems within the district. Having grown up in this community, I know a great number of people, and having served on the Board of Aldermen for 8 years, am acquainted with many others. And we're having a rash of guns brought to school. And I believe that's a very simple solution in utilizing metal detectors. We go to ball games, we go to other events, and they're using metal detectors to determine that people don't bring something in that they shouldn't. It would take a little extra time to get the kids into school, but maybe limited to 2 access points to get in. And then from hearing from teachers, the security that's within the school, they just stand around. They don't really do a whole lot to help secure and make sure that there's no problems in the hallways. So security would be my first and foremost.
Thanks very much. Jules, what would show up as your first priority?
I would say that one of my biggest priorities, if not my biggest, is both financial as well as security. We can't afford to have security officers because we don't have the finances as a district, but we don't have the finances as a district because we have a truancy issue where 30% of our kids, a little more than 30%, are not showing up to school. And so that affects us since the money that we get in as a district comes based off of the WADA, which is the weighted attendance ratio. And so that is a concern to me as well, because I would like to see us have social workers that are able to work with truancy officers on behalf of the school districts. But in my opinion, that is something that we can do through AmeriCorps. We can do that as somebody who works with youth that are underprivileged and underrepresented in Raytown. I have 50 to 70 Black and brown youth in my youth group. And what I find is that sometimes they are afraid to go to school, or they don't have parents that are taking them to school, or they don't have the means to get to school. And so we, as a district, need to work to ensure that our kids are getting there. And so I believe that that's something that we can do through a program such as AmeriCorps.
Thanks very much. Sam, what would be getting your attention at the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the greatest opportunity in front of the Raytown Quality School District today is ensuring that our children are getting the proper nutrition. I'm incredibly thankful that we're offering food to our children, and especially to the 60% plus that qualify for free and reduced lunch. My hope is that we can either bring back in scratch made whole foods, minimally processed by our staff and served to our children with love. That'd be great. We can also go the route of bringing in a vendor who's going to essentially do the same thing. And, in my opinion, getting really great educational outcomes really does begin with how you're fueling the children. I don't know who out there in the audience is like me, but I've had to pick between groceries and rent. And I know that you can only pick groceries so many months before it's a problem. And I don't know how many of those families are in that same boat, but I do know that if you can get a good solid meal from school, it makes studying far easier, makes taking a test far easier, and it probably will help ensure that children who otherwise would not be being fed would be getting the meals that they need, and would probably how do I say this, activate on the pull side instead of the push side in terms of solving our truancy problem there. So that would be my first order of business.
Thank you. Bobby Salisbury, what would be your first order of business?
My first order of business would be to continue involvement with our community, because I believe that the community involvement is a string that we need to attach ourselves to draw in the community closer to the district and more participation from the community. Partners address county challenges and gather feedback for improvement is critical. The voters of parents, community members, best business partners, and students will allow for input and recommendations to best meet the needs of the school district. In order for the aforementioned matters to be effectively developed and impaired, a safe, leaning entrepreneur is essential. The
Okay.
board and its members, such as I, must work with school leaders to create comprehensive safety plans.
I think we're out of time, Bobby, at this point.
Okay.
Edna, what shows up as your first order of business?
My first order of business is centered on fostering academic excellence. And in order to do that, we have to support our educators. Addressing our recruitment and retention challenges by offering competitive salaries and prioritizing professional development opportunities. We need to create an environment where educators feel valued, respected, and safe. And if they are,
You're
and
being
supported.
merciful because I'm mama.
No, because you were doing the good.
Bobby, we
And
can,
also to boost, I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
I think we're hearing some noise from your end. Sorry, Edna, go ahead.
It's okay. And also to boost the teachers' morale through recognition programs and consistent support from the board. We all know that happy teachers create knowledgeable students. Knowledgeable students boost community, and a happy community creates sustainable lifestyles for the dwellers in the community. And it is very, very important that there's a connection between all three, that there's a connection between the teachers, the administration, the students, and the parents to create a three-chord strand that will not be easily broken. And it creates a very strong community.
Thanks very much. Jordan, you get to wrap up this topic.
Yeah, no, I think everybody gave, great answers. But I definitely do think it does start with our teachers. Our teachers are the backbone of this entire district. Raytown Schools is the number one employer in Raytown. Currently, right now, the average salary of a teacher is $55,000, and rising costs and everything like that. It's hard. It's hard to really attract teachers, and it's hard to really retain great teachers. I know just off of my coworkers at Raytown High School, at least a dozen of them leaving because they know if I go to Blue Springs or if I go to Elise Summit, I can gain some steps. And sometimes those steps can equal up to like $15,000, $20,000, which I can't fault them for leaving for that. Helping out our teachers and making sure that they're well compensated, but also making sure that they are giving the real opportunity for professional development and to be able to help out our curriculum. Spending more, we spent time and time on curriculum, but making sure that their voices are actually heard. Because currently, right now, our attendance rate is very low. We're at 65% attendance rate, which is terrible. Also, our graduation rate right now is only 1 in 4 kids aren't graduating in 4 years. And so I definitely think that giving our teachers that real opportunity to have their voices heard and making sure that they can actually tell the districts what is best for our kids, I think that's going to help our community, it's going to help our students, and it's going to help overall just Raytown, be better on the map.
Thanks very much. Bobby, this next question is you're going to start us off on. Currently, the Federal Department of Education is being downsized and may be eliminated. What effect would that have on Kansas City schools?
Well, I really think it would be very, very bad for the Kansas City, Missouri School District. In fact, any district that would be exposed to that decision. So I think that it would shortchange us on money, on helping with our kids that are challenged. They would not get the support that they need, the financial support that they need, the work that they need to be working on. would be shortchanged. So I think it would be very bad, and I'm hoping and praying that it does not take place, that the courts would rule against it. So I think it would be bad.
Okay. Sam, weigh in on this one. This is a big topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whenever you introduce uncertainty in a system, it doesn't help anybody really. I think what's going on at the federal level is really challenging. I also recognize that there's not much we can do to control it. What I can commit is that we can make decisions at a local level that will ensure that our children are getting the very best education they possibly can. Some money comes from the federal bucket is the word I guess I'm looking for. The funds come from the federal. I'm hoping that that those federal funds remain available and move down to the state level, and the states continue apportioning us what we think we are worth. But I'm also aware that how do I say this? I would never wish to have a disruption to our educational services. But I'm also aware that when we have challenges that arise, like that's really where we get to step up and say, well, what's the important piece to this? What are we going to do in the light that we're losing, even if a third of our funding is gone? What decisions are we going to make as a community? What's actually valuable to us? And you really understand who you are and what's important to your community when that happens. It's, again, not something I would wish. I'm just aware that there's a lot of uncertainty, not really sure how that's going to impact us, but I can tell you that we can make decisions at the local level to not only protect our students, but also to educate them as best we possibly can. So
Thanks very much. Jordan, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, no, I think this is a truly, I don't think that we are emphasizing enough how much this is going to really affect Raytown. Currently, right now, we have almost 60% of our students are all free and reduced lunch. Our schools most of them are Title One. And so that's where a lot of that federal funding is coming from. Also, our SPED kids, we're getting that federal funding as well, being taken away. But also from the state level, not getting transportation fully funded as well. Currently, I saw that Mike Kehoe is taking about, I think, at least $50 million away from education, which is definitely going to hurt schools like us of Raytown. So it really does go to who does that affect? It definitely affects our teachers. It affects our students, which is probably going to have to rely on some cuts are going to have to be made. And so we have to make sure that all the cuts that we are doing, whatever is left over, what we are paying for, truly only benefits our students. And I truly think that, as all the candidates here, being a person that's been in the school district, being a person that's actually been teaching there, I think that I am the best candidate to understand what is important and what's not important that we're spending.
Thanks very much. Joe, what do you think the impact of this might be? You're muted. Joe, mute. Joe, you're muted.
I saw a random clip online, Ronald Reagan talking about disbanding the Department of Education, which it didn't happen. I believe it was in 1981, which meant the Department of Education was established in 1978. But our test scores were higher prior to the Department of Education. Now, it's not there's rumors of losing funding. The current administration has promised that the funding will not go away. They have other avenues to cycle that money out to the districts. But we ought to be considering a zero balance budget as they do in the business world. Until we know for sure, we need to be prepared. When I was writing about the school district in 2017, my grandchildren were in the Olathe School District, and they had 3 assistant superintendents to the superintendent. And Raytown had 13 assistant superintendents in a much smaller district. with the average pay being $125,000. So if you reduce the administration in the administration building and that funding does not get cut, then you can distribute that money that you've gained to the teachers where we can keep up with school districts like Blue Springs.
Thank you. Jules, what do you think that possibility might bring?
Well, I have 25 years of executive experience, including as a chief growth officer and a chief financial officer. And so, speaking from a financial perspective, should the Department of Education go away, I assume that that would mean that the finances that have gone through the Department of Education would then go straight to the state. But if that were not to happen, then what our job would be to do as a district board would be to come together and to create strategic growth opportunities with businesses, with companies like AmeriCorps, with nonprofits like Caring for Kids. It would mean that as a board that we would need to be in the trenches along with our teachers and with our students and with our administrators and really figuring out what needs to stay and what needs to go. My concern is for those kids that are underprivileged, that are part of that Title I funding. My other concern is 15 to 22% of our children in our district are on an IEP, which is for those that are neurodivergent or that have dyslexia and that kind of thing. So my concern would be with making sure that we are giving them the same opportunities as other children. And so whatever it would take to do those strategic partnerships within our community, our businesses and our nonprofits, then that's what I would hope to do. And I would be willing to lead if I was on the board doing that.
Thanks very much. Edna, what are your thoughts? And Edna,
Well,
before you start, can you turn your mic up just a little bit? We can
How is
hear you,
that?
but it's a little faint.
How is that? Is that better?
That's a little better, yes.
Okay. I think that it's a combination of what both Jordan and Jules have mentioned. I do believe that there has to be some, or I'm sorry, Joe and Jules have mentioned, there has to be some kind of budgetary adjustment, trimming the fat, if you will, to know what is definitely needed to educate our kids and what is not. And to also have the community to buy into the educational system, the small businesses and the companies around Raytown need to have a vested interest in our educational system. And I currently work as the one of the senior managers of admissions in a nonprofit organization that actually provide job skill trainings to individuals who are underserved, who are not making sustainable incomes. And the reality is that when we have the business community vested in the educational system, everybody profits. Everybody gains because they have an interest, because they need skilled labor to come into their businesses, and we need to educate our kids to have them at a place where they can actually function in society as a growing individual, whether they choose to go the career pathway or they choose to go college. We have to be able to trim the fat and make it lean.
Okay. Edna, we're going to stay with you as we move to the next question here. How should the district address concerns about screen time and digital distractions? Edna,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that was for you. Yeah, we're going to roll right to you on this one.
Okay,
We're random,
okay,
so
okay.
that's it. Did you
Okay,
get
very
did you
good.
get did you get the question?
Yes, about digital distractions.
Yep.
We know
Screen time and digital distraction.
screen time is necessary in a lot of entities for education, and that's a fact. Because everything has gone digital, we cannot roll the clock back in that regard. Now, when it comes to telephones and distractions with kids on the phone, now that's a totally different story. So we have to find that, we have to strike that balance, where AI and digital, all of that plays a part in the educational process. Classrooms, the more advanced classrooms are using digital instead of paper books. So we have to be able to incorporate both, find that happy balance so that the distractions are kept at a minimal, which I know is going to be a challenge because of the FaceTime that is used on phones right now, because a lot of adults have a hard time separating themselves from their telephones, their portable little gadgets, right? So we have to be able to not only model that for the kids, but teach them, because they have to be taught that balance. And there's always, like with us, there's a work life balance. We have to teach the children the same. It's all education.
Thanks very much. Joe, how would you handle this business of phones and the distraction they cause?
Okay, well, that is another great question, because we have a policy at our house with our grandchildren that there's a basket by the door that when they come in, they drop their phones in the basket, and then that way we have their attention, and then when they leave, they can pick their phones back up. But there's just too many distractions, too many. I personally, I don't think a cell phone should belong in the classroom. Many will say that for emergency purposes it's needed, but there's all kinds of personnel within the school district that can help handle an emergency situation. As far as the digital aspect of things, there's been some recent school districts I've read about that have gone back to textbooks, and their test scores have increased. And by taking away that screen time and putting kids actually back in textbooks, they've had good results and higher test scores. And maybe that's something that Raytown should explore. Our test scores are not very good right now. We're currently ranked 507th out of 531 districts. And I think we just need to go back to the basics. I understand Jordan was a coach, and a lot of times I played ball clear up until I was 60. And your coaches will tell you that you got to go back to the basics.
Thanks very
And
much.
so that's what we need to do with the kids.
Okay, Bobby, what do you think about this problem that everybody has to deal with?
Well, it is a problem when it's not managed properly. So one of the things that I would propose is that if if you're going to use these digital instruments in classroom, that you make sure guidelines have been established and proper behavior with the phones. So with the with the digital and the AI that's coming, it's here, and we got to change because it's in its form. So we be required of us to make changes and to make sure that proper instruction is given and monitor it, because sometimes children do not pay attention to what is said until an incident occurs, and then they're repentive and sorry about it, but sorry doesn't cut it sometimes. So
Right.
it's important that we monitor their behavior and instruct them well on how they are to reply to the digital screen and to the AI, because those things are here to stay.
Thanks very much. Jules, your thoughts?
So I'm probably a little bit more opinionated than the rest of them when it comes to this, having done my entire education online, both my bachelor's that was in finance and economics and my master's in communication and education. Although what I have to say might surprise you. So on the AMI days that we had this last year, I actually went on my kids' computers, and it was pretty abysmal what I was seeing as far as their learning on the online. And then when speaking to parents and their confusion, even when it comes to what their kids are learning on those online devices, which are not allowed to come home, by the way, which that makes it kind of hard. If we as parents are only seeing what they're doing in their online classes during AMI days, then that's not something that I see as being extremely fruitful. So as an educator myself, I believe in a balance. I believe that we need to have kids in textbooks and reading actual books. But I also believe that AI and online is important. However, if we have kids that are kinesthetic learners, for example, you cannot learn as a kinesthetic learner online. Can't do it unless you are very well, what's the word I'm looking for? Dedicated to your own education. And so I think that it's important that we don't allow phones in the classrooms when the kids are in there. They need to stay off of their phones and they need to pay attention in their classrooms, and that we need to educate them and the parents on those online devices.
Okay, thanks. Jordan?
So currently, right now, there's a Senate bill in Missouri right now that is going to ban cell phones in schools already. Um, Currently, I think that that bill might pass. We are already seeing multiple states already start doing that. So I think that cell phone banning is more likely to come before, as a board member having to actually like say that or make that decision. But I definitely do think there's a time and place for cell phones. I know multiple schools, school districts in the area that ban cell phones from elementary and middle school, and only allow high schoolers to be able to use it during passing time. So that is something I'm definitely on board with. As a teacher, it's very difficult sometimes having some kids on their phones all the time. But I definitely do think that using technology is very important. Um, like everybody has said, AI is coming. So I definitely think using prompting AI and using that to help students, especially EL learners. I think AI is definitely important to use. But I kind of agree with what Julie said of like making sure that we make sure that our teachers are well equipped and understand how to really use these online classes, their Google classrooms and whatnot, but also establishing a way for parents to be able to keep up with what their kids are learning, whether that's adding in math, for elementary, or what's going on in science in middle school. I think
We're out of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam, you get to wrap this one up.
Sure, thanks. How we should address screen time. I believe in the primarily couple of principles here. One, we should be training students for the future. I think ultimately that means allowing them, all of us have a cell phone in our pocket and we've learned to not look at it 17 hours a day, right? It's a constant distraction that we're all kind of aware of. It would be nice if we could trust our students to have cell phones and be responsible with them and learn what it's like to manage a life with this distraction in your pocket. I also acknowledge that there's going to be some kids who are 0% interest in developing that willpower, and we need to empower teachers to be able to educate the class and that individual there. So from a policy perspective, I would be in favor of supporting teachers 100%. If they want a 100% cell phone free classroom, then they're empowered to make that happen with the full backing of the district. So that's kind of how I sit on there. Now, of course, as you move into the middle school and high school, the future of tools is AI, right? I use AI in my work. Most of the professionals that I work with use AI to some degree or another, and learning how to navigate that is critical. And if we're training students for the future, then we need to have some not only exposure but awareness of how these tools work, where they're proficient, where they're not effective. How we cannot outsource our thinking. Like, you actually do have to make the decisions as the operator of the machine, but the machine can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So.
Thanks very much. Jules, we're going to move to another question here for you to start with. What's your stance on standardized testing and its role in education?
So standardized testing and its role in education is interesting that you would bring that up for me first, as someone who was told all throughout school that I had a learning disability. I don't learn the same as others. I actually am a kinesthetic learner that had to work very, very hard to pass testing. However, I've taken many tests. I have my real estate license. I have my insurance license. I've been in an advocacy license through the state of California, and I passed those tests. However, standardized testing does not always give us the entire picture of a student. Sometimes we can have a student that is extremely intelligent and is just not good at regurgitating back that knowledge that they've learned in the classroom. That sometimes they are someone who actually needs to be able to speak out what their learning process has been because they're an audible learner. Or they may be someone who needs to write out what it is that they've learned because they're a visual or kinesthetic learner. So I believe that it should be one small point in how we take in what it is that a student has learned, but we also need to acknowledge that not all students learn that same way. If you have a lecturer in front of me and it's an all audible learning environment, I learn nothing. I fail completely. And so I believe that it needs to be one small portion of the overall package or picture of what that student is capable of doing. Although I think it's important, not as important as what it has been made to be in the past.
Okay. Bobby, what do you think about standardized testing?
You're muted. She's muted.
Bobby, there you go.
I'm unmuted now. Thank you. Well, standardized testing. What do I think of it? Standardized testing. My thoughts are it's good for those that can adapt to it, and those that are challenged by it. We have to find another means of teaching. So standardized testing is great, but it's a hindrance if you're not comfortable with it or not familiar with using it. That's what I think.
Okay. Edna?
I agree. Standardized testing, it's like, by what standard are we speaking? Because you have to have it catered around the student themselves. And like everyone has said, not all students learn the same. They don't regurgitate the same. So we have to get away from that cookie cutter type of, of gauging or evaluating our students when they don't learn in the same way. So a lot of folk do have um, test anxieties, even. They know exactly what it is, but to get them to regurgitate is a totally different story. But you ask them to do it, and they'll do it.
Okay. Jordan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so my entire time at Raytown High School, I taught the algebra standardized test. And when I tell you I've experienced the difficulties of it on test days, student anxiety, students, laptops not charged, not ready, but also kind of going to the same point of like some kids didn't eat well that day, and so there's a lot of factors into standardized testing, and I personally think standardized testings is terrible. I wish we could teach a different way. The only problem with standardized testing is currently that's how we get our report card. Our MSEP scores are based on standardized testing for the MAP. Third grade, I think it's also fifth grade, middle school, and also in each different level of in high school. And so there is a balance. I'm very pro standards based, having clear learning goals in each section of each subject that we're teaching, but also making sure those standards do align with what is going to be on the test, because I mean it's state requirement that they have to take these tests. So I want to make sure that our teachers are prepared and understand what are the standards, what are our goals, and then give them the freedom of like, okay, I know the best way to teach this, and letting them have that freedom.
Thanks very much. Joe, where do you think standardized testing fits into the picture?
Well, I've got a kitty cat that joined me here in the basement, so hopefully she doesn't make too much noise.
My dog is after me too, so.
Yeah. Although standardized testing, you get varying opinions from teachers, from other people. Every district faces standardized testing, and currently, based on current scores from the Raytown School District, our math proficiency is about 12%, and our reading proficiency is about 25%. But I would argue that for those students going on to college, that the ACT or the SAT is a standardized test. And currently, I think the last statistic I saw, there's the kitty cat's tail. The last statistic I saw, our students that took the test averaged 17 and a half. And when I attended Raytown schools, and I was not a stellar student, and I took the ACT, I got a 27. So we need to figure out what we're doing and not doing in the classrooms. And like I say, as far as administration, we need to look and see if we're over administered, and maybe we can free up some of that money for the teachers.
Okay. Sam, close us out on this one.
Bring us home. All right. Standardized tests are kind of interesting in that there's some professions that are essentially built around it. If you're a lawyer, you need to prepare for the day of the trial, right? You don't get a redo. There's no, I'm late, my dog ate my homework. Like, you have to be there. Someone's life is on the line regarding that. And some of the stuff that we have in place in our education system is designed essentially to help people that are moving into those professions. Now, if we have a student who's not moving into becoming a lawyer and would rather become an entrepreneur or a welder, or who knows, any number of different things, very likely, standardized testing and all the skill sets around that aren't going to be very helpful. I would say ultimately, this is a decision, again, that's likely going to be made at the federal and the state level, and then we have to live with the consequences thereof. But my goal really is to ensure that every child can read, write, and do arithmetic at a proficient level. They should be able to, by the time they graduate, they should be able to read at a 12th grade reading level. They should be able to do math at a 12th grade reading level. And, I know from a lot of constituents, they would love to see cursive being taught again. And I guess that's not really on the standardized testing objective here, but I guess what I'm saying is there's a reason why it's been around. It's an effective test. It's a good way for people to measure themselves, but it's not the end all be all, and we shouldn't make it be the end all be all for our children. It's clearly not make or break, and nor should we put that pressure on them. So,
Sam, we're going to stay with you for the next one.
Oh boy.
How would open enrollment, in other words, allowing students to attend schools in districts other than the one they live in, affect Raytown schools?
Yeah. So, in my opinion, how it would affect our school, it would open up the ability for current Raytown residents to send their children to schools elsewhere. I think there's some transportation questions and some other stuff that's being ironed out, but my understanding is that this is being launched by, the Jeff City in short. It would certainly change the dynamic of our school system. I would be concerned that we wouldn't see children from other districts wanting to come to our district. And instead we would be seeing, if should this pass, that we would see children in our district want to go to other districts. And, that does not feel good. I don't know precisely what we could do to stop it. If it's state law, it's a state law. There's things we could issue. I know the superintendent has some opinions on this, and I would be open to hearing what she would have to say around that. I think this is definitely a critical issue. I'm not entirely sure what job the board would have in being able to restrict a state given right against it. But it would make us have to be competitive in terms of offering either a better education or an alternative education to our students, and lure, hopefully, coerce is like lure is probably the wrong words, but woo in the children and the families that have options to go elsewhere. And I think we could do that given the challenge.
Thank you. Jordan, how would you tackle this?
I think, school choice and open enrollment, I think those are negative things that will happen to Raytown. If we allow that open enrollment to really happen, there's probably going to be a mass exodus of people from Raytown. Raytown, it's not currently right now in performing wise, it's not near the top in the Kansas City area, which is going to make parents make that choice of they want their kids to have that top education, and so we are going to lose students, which is going to affect funding, which is going to increase classroom sizes for teachers, which is going to hurt our transportation needs. It's going to be a very negative impact. And I am so against this on every single front. Also, some of our kids might get denied trying to go to another school district just because they have an IEP. Some schools might not want to take those kids on. And so I want to make sure that every kid that comes to our school, gets treated fairly and has the best education for them. And I think if we just fund our schools and actually fully help our schools by pushing better education, more community involvement, and empowering teachers, our schools can get better and more people will want to come to Raytown instead of leave Raytown.
Okay, thanks. Jules, how do you feel about it?
I come from an open enrollment state, so I probably have a little bit of a different perspective on it. One of my things is making sure that we're having intellectually honest conversations when it comes to open enrollment. As it currently sits, there would be a cap of 3% of students allowed to leave the school districts that opt in to open enrollment. So each district would have to opt in or opt out. As well as it is currently written, parents would be responsible for transportation. So if they were one of the 3% that would get to move, like Jordan said, Mr. Jamerson said, they would have to be accepted by another school district as well. And so I've seen where it has worked well. In California and Los Angeles and Orange counties, and San Diego County. And I've seen where it did not work well. And so I believe that honestly, first and foremost, as a district, we have to decide. My understanding is that as of right now, that our school district has decided that they would not opt in to open enrollment. And so I don't really see where, unless we are going to be able to make a difference in that decision once we come in as a board, if that's something that we're going to even have the opportunity to be a part of, or if that decision has already been made for us and we're just going to be dealing with whatever the outcome is from there.
And if this were to happen, how would you want to respond to that possibility?
I think it would definitely be a negative effect on the school system if open enrollment did occur. And that's just because we would stand to lose a number of students, even at that 3%. That number could be devastating to the budget, losing that 3%. But then again, when we seriously focus on trimming the fat of the budget, it frees up funds for other things. And if we build up Raytown schools and make it a magnet where people will actually want to come rather than run away from, then we can solve the problem. But we would have to build our schools and make them the place that people want to come to rather than run away from. And that's again focusing on our teachers, making our teachers happy. When our teachers are happy, our students learn more and our community gains more.
Thank you. Bobby, what challenges open enrollment pose for Raytown?
Well, I agree with what Edna said wholeheartedly. It would create a negative impact upon the district. It would shortchange us with student quality, with students' excellence. So I would agree with the fact that it's a negative impact upon the district and upon the students. And I agree with her in stating the fact that a happy teacher is a happy student. So we need to make sure that our teachers are happy by doing whatever we can to increase their funds.
Okay. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, this is really the first I've heard of it. Okay. I come and go, and I don't pay attention to everything in the news. But I do know it would hurt Raytown school districts or the Raytown school district, because you would see an exodus of the overperforming students wanting to go to the better school districts, which would further decline the test scores within the district. But I know in talking, I've run across 3 IAs or paras in the district as I've been campaigning, and they've talked to me about how teachers in the classroom to pull them away from the special needs child to conduct the classroom while the teacher is on the laptop doing their master's degree. There's a teacher at Raytown Central Middle that works on his Lego city while the para or IA is teaching. And so really structurally, Raytown School District needs foundational repair. And what they need to do is really establish where that starts at. But somebody mentioned earlier about kids not feeling safe coming to schools, but the security guards are feckless within the schools, according to the teachers I've talked to. They don't do anything. If they're worried about guns in the schools, well, the adults in the room could do something about that with some simple decisions.
I think we're out
But
of time there. Bobby, we're going to move to you for the next question. What's your stance on funding for arts, music, and sports programs?
Well, the budget can support it, then I'm for it. But if we cut into the budget and it produces a leanness in the budget where you can't do the things that you need to do, then I don't so support arts and sports. I know that they're valuable, that they're needed in the child's life, but there's some things where as it affects the budget that you can't do, though you might desire to do it, but you can't do it because of the budget situation. So I believe that if we can afford it, then do it. And if you can't afford it, then don't do it.
Okay. Edna, what are your thoughts?
I think those programs are necessary. So, and again, we'd have to look at budget to see where we can trim the fat. But I don't think taking away the things like arts and sports, I don't think that's the way to go. We need to look at those other parts of the budget that could be trimmed and trim that, because the children need something other than just academics, and the arts and sports is an outlet for them.
Thank you. Sam?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the jobs of the K through 12 institution is to expose children to things that they otherwise wouldn't be exposed to, like music, arts, and sports. I know from a number of my conversations with children at the park that I'm right by, performance in a sports team and doing well there is a huge area of growing competence for young ones and self-esteem. And it's also seen as, if you can be a professional in this space, it really is your ticket to, the world, right? If you can perform at an NFL level, what could you not do? So I think it would be inappropriate for the school district to cut the budget to those particular programs. I think, as everyone mentioned, everything has to come back to the lens of, if you don't have the money, you can't spend the money. But in terms of a priority for me, I think that is a huge piece of what education can offer to children. Your parents, if they don't know how to play an instrument, they're not going to be able to teach you how to play an instrument, right? And you're hoping that maybe an uncle can. Otherwise, you're never learning. And I just don't think it's right to restrict access to our very rich cultural traditions in that way.
Thanks. Joe, what's your thoughts on the importance of music, arts, and sports in school programs?
Sure, thanks. That's an excellent question. I took part in sports programs at Raytown Junior High. I'm showing my age. It wasn't a middle school; it was a junior high. And at Raytown South High School, I bleed Cardinal Red. And but in my time in Raytown, I know of about 4 people that went on to professional careers in sports. Lemuel Parks, Bob Denier, Teron Liu. There was a young man that went to Raytown High School that played for the 49ers at a very high level. But I think it's important because these kids need exercise and activity. But I go back to my comments earlier about zero balance budget. And in the corporate world, whenever a company's in trouble, they go to a zero balance budget and they figure out what they absolutely have to spend and in order to keep things floating. And it's combined with the federal funding issue that was brought up earlier. But I think uh, whether I'm elected to the board or not, it's my desire to be there. I think if the Raytown School District does not look at a zero balance budget and examine how that operates, I think they would be foolish with times coming.
Okay, thanks very much. Jules, your thoughts?
As someone who played the saxophone since second grade, um, I'm like 51, so quite a while. That saxophone and being able to be in band and go on trips, as well as playing softball and volleyball. Those were some of the most tremendous memories that I have from school, and the relationships that I was able to develop with my band teachers and my coaches as well. So I very much and desire to see where we are having arts and humanities and being able to have our sports in there, and at the same time, my hope is that if we cannot financially afford to utilize our own financial means to make those programs happen, then that's where I want to see those partnerships with those nonprofits and with those grant organizations. I know there's grants right now for $200,000-300,000 that we could be applying for, where we could have those programs paid for. And so I would like to see that balance where if we cannot, through our own financial means, get it, that we are reaching out to our nonprofit partnerships and our business partnerships, and we're applying for those grants that we have that we could be utilizing for those kind of programs that are so, so important.
Okay, Jordan, what do you think?
So first, want to promote. We're having United in Song, the music of Raytown. So both Raytown High, and South High students, the band, orchestras, and choir all performing on April 16th at 6:30 at the Kaufman Center. I highly, highly recommend everybody buy a ticket. Me and my wife are going, and I'm so excited to hear. But I'm going to be a little bit kind of against everybody else. Um, I don't really care about the budget for this. I think that sports, music programs, clubs, all those need to get more funding. We can find the money somehow. Currently, right now, we approved spending $488 a day times five to another bus company. We spent over $60,000 on a pilot program for an AI that we don't know if it's going to work or if teachers actually want that. We need way more funding for these programs because that's what really helps kids get through the day. That's what helps that social, emotional learning. Having that coach be that person in their lives. Currently, right now, I mean, we just built the Ted Chitwood building, but for years and decades, that building was it was terrible, poor quality. The weight room currently at Raytown High School is a disaster. It needs to get redone. We need to find the money. We need to find we need to fully fund these programs. because there's nothing more there. Math, English, and all that's great, but also all these other clubs are equally as important as well.
Okay. Jules, this one has got a little more words in it. Have you examined the MSIP and district report card information reported by DESE? If so, did you learn anything that surprised you? Do you believe that feedback from the MSIP has any value for the district?
Yes, I did. So I've kind of looked at both the financial and the academic parts when it comes to our feedback, both from DESE as well as when we're listening into our school board meetings. I think that one of the parts that was the most surprising to me has been how some of our scores are going down, but we've actually had some scores that have gone up as well. And so when we're looking at the overall picture, I want to focus on those scores that are going up. Why are those scores going up? Whereas the scores that are going down, why are those scores going down? And I think that takes a unilateral approach of looking at all of that feedback and figuring out strategically and digitally what are the differences, and then also comparing ourselves not just to ourselves, but maybe comparing ourselves to a district that is doing better than us, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel here as a school district. We can look at other school districts that have successfully come from where we are right now. How did they get themselves up to a better scoring all the way across the board, and partnering with those school districts and figuring out from them what they used to be able to do that.
Thanks. Sam, do you need me to read that question?
Sure. Why don't you read it again for me?
Have you examined the MSIP and the district report card information from DESE? And if so, did you learn anything that surprised you? Do you believe that feedback from the MSIP has any value for the district?
Yeah, I did review it. In terms of surprising information, I thought it was kind of interesting that DESE looks at a school district based on the purchase price of the real estate. I think that was kind of an interesting eye opener for me. It's like, oh yeah, this is put together by financial professionals. Interesting. And then of course it raises questions. In the event that you had to raise money or sell real estate, who are you going to sell this to, right? who's going to want an old school? But I digress there. My sense in reviewing the report card was when you know what you're being reviewed on, it makes it a little bit easier to make improvements in that area. And some of the concerns for me was on the school-wide level, on some schools that were showing continuing improvement and were making progress, and other schools where consistently we were missing points on things that seemed like, and granted, what do I know, right? I'm just a person running for board. I've never been an educator, but it seemed like points that could have easily have been won if we were just doing the work. So what that typically indicates to me is not a lack of will, but maybe a lack of support, and specifically kind of tying back into making sure that we're heading the right direction, setting good policy as a board, and then that teachers can agree to, like polling teachers, understanding what they want, putting that policy into place, and then supporting teachers to that end. So that was kind of the most insightful piece that I learned from the review there.
Okay, Joe, and I'm happy to read the question again if you like.
Oh, no. I know all about dese.mo.gov. Sam kind of stole my thunder in that when you know that what you're going to be rated on, it's an easier target. Back when I attended schools, teachers moved the target by giving us pop quizzes when we had nothing to know about it. But in talking to the teachers, the structural problems within the school district, I think, are a big impediment both to the teacher and the student. I had the opportunity to talk to a principal that used to be over the alternative school where difficult school students are sent. And when he came in, he brought suspension to the bad kids in the alternative school. And there was pushback from the district about doing that, although the conduct and behavior within the classrooms was improving because they knew that there was going to be a punishment ultimately if they did not act better. And over a couple of years, the conduct improved, but the district pushed that gentleman out of that position. And so, but from school to school, you got each principal's got a different idea. A lot of principals, when they receive disruptive students, send them right back into the classroom, which it makes it more difficult for the
We're
teacher.
gonna have to cut you off
And
there.
what's that?
Need to cut you off there.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great.
Overtime. Jordan, happy to read it again if you like.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I look at our MSIP scores every single year. I compare them to, all around Kansas City school districts. And it is very important. I don't know how to stress this enough. I got my master's in education administration, and literally that was the main focus, is to make sure that we understand what is our MSIP scores. That's what gets us accredited. That's what allows us to get accredited in the area. And so we've all seen, the hell that KCP had to go through just to get back fully accredited. And currently, right now, we're on a good course. We're not, at the top currently right now, but once this school year gets added into our MSEP and we get to remove 2022's scores, we're going to be in such a much better place where we won't have to really worry as much as being fully accredited. But I would say the biggest thing that kind of, I guess, draw my eye was definitely just the graduation rate. Again, 1 in 4 kids currently right now are not graduating on time in 4 years. And at least to me, I think that's unacceptable. I think that we need to focus to make sure that these kids are showing up to school and that these kids are graduating on time and doing whatever it takes to make sure that these kids, like Sam said, knows math, knows science, knows how to read in 4 years in high school.
Thank you. Edna?
I have to be completely transparent in saying I did not see the report, but I do know what the stats are in Raytown in terms of the test scores for reading and math. And if that report says anything about those numbers, then we have some work to do. And if we are going to strengthen the communities, this community in particular, we have to strengthen our schools. We have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If we don't strengthen the schools, then we'll see even residents fleeing away from Raytown because they don't want to be here, because the school system is what attracts people to your community. And we have to make sure that our school system is top notch. And whatever it takes, that's what we need to do.
Thank you. Bobby, what do you think on the MSIP side and DESE?
Would you repeat the question?
You bet. Have you examined the MSIP and district report card information reported by DESE? If so, did you learn anything that surprised you? Do you believe that feedback from the MSIP has any value for the district?
Yes, I do believe that it has value for the district. And I did not see the report, but I believe the report that I've heard from the other people speaking. So in 2022, should the removal of the scores be removed, that would create better scoring for us in 2024. So I'm hoping that that takes place. So the MSIP is a good roadmap. So it leads us to greatness in the sense that we can see where we've been and see where we need to go. So I think that it's a good program to have in the schools. And I do not see anything negative with it. You know, sometimes you can look at the glass and say it's half filled, and then sometimes you look at the glass and say it's half empty. And I'd like for us to look at the district as being half full because the district is going to get better. I'm believing that the district will get better. We got a good superintendent who is charging us, and I believe that she's going to do a great job for the district. She's already done a great job for the district. So I'm positive that we're going to advance and we're not going to have this negativity hanging over our heads.
Thanks very much. Joe, the next question is, do you support expanding career and technical education programs?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Many of my friends in the automotive world
Right,
where I
darling, bye.
came through the automotive programs within the Raytown School District and they excelled. But you know, the age of everybody being a computer programmer is pretty saturated right now, and it's lowered wages. I as a supporter of the trades, I know one of my customers told me he's a union rep for the carpenters union that out of 56 carpenters retiring, there's only 7 to replace them. Uh, you know, we had basic shop classes in the school district where it taught us to weld, how to use a
My
tape
water,
measure,
yes.
build things. And when that got taken away, we've seen a decline in the blue collar workforce. But I can tell you, as far as the trades go, the refrigeration trade, not the HVAC trade, but the refrigeration trade, uh, somebody that excels in that is going to make about $150,000 a year. So we need to expand programs in technical areas, trade areas. There's so much focus on AI, but AI doesn't build homes.
Okay,
AI doesn't work on your car.
thanks very much. Jordan, what's your thoughts on technical and career-based education?
So, at least in my experience at Raytown High School, I definitely do think that we can put a little bit more emphasis on, trades. We have the Hurden Center. I want to just let everybody know. Just want to promote more of Raytown. If you have not been to Cinder, it is delicious. Okay, I highly recommend. Our kids have been working their butts off. They are one of the most nationally ranked culinary programs, in the nation. So highly recommend it. You guys all try that restaurant. It's fine dining. It's great. Try it out. But kind of piggybacking off of Joe, there's so many different alternatives. College is very important. A lot of people, a lot of jobs do require, that college degree. But at the same time, trade is still very important. I know currently right now we're trying to implement a system in the school district where, kids kind of pick out their careers and what they want to do. But I really want to go, a little bit like a step further of that, where kids really get to choose of like, what do they want to do? Do they want to try to make money by joining a trade, being an electrician, a plumber, or something like that, or do they want to try to find that career that they think that they will enjoy for the rest of their life? Because how else are we going to have teachers if we don't promote college? How else are we going to have nurses if we don't, or doctors if we don't promote college? So just making sure we find a balance at the high school levels for both trade and college.
Thank you. Edna?
Oh, I really like that question because that's my profession. That's what I do now is to provide students and adults with options. College is not for everybody. There's a lot of parents out there that can say they spent a boatload of money on sending their kids to college and they're not using that degree. I believe that there are a lot of persons out there who are just meant to do the skilled trades, and we should offer that option in high school. Because if we equip them, like I said earlier, to go either way, to go to a career pathway or to take the college route, there's no wrong way to be successful. There are a lot of successful people that are earning really good money that are not college degreed. I have a college degree. I have two actually, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't have made it as a seamstress or something else. So I mean, so we need the trades. The trades that we have that are at a huge deficit in this state is construction, healthcare, IT, manufacturing, and career services. Dog groomers are at a shortage, y'all. Insurance agents are at a shortage, but it doesn't take a college degree to do it. So why don't we promote those things that will provide a sustainable income and give that student a choice?
Thanks very much. Bobby, what are your thoughts on career and technical education programs?
Well, I believe in both of them. Believe that if a student cares about college and wants to go to college, that student should be enabled to go to college. And the same thing with the person that wants to do technical work. So I support either of them because, like it was stated, you don't want to have a student locked in, forced to do something that they are not going to appreciate or value later on. So you want the student to have the option of choosing. So I would push for either one, whichever one the student wanted to do it, because this gives the opportunity for growth, and especially if the money is good in either of the fields that he or she chooses to go into.
Thank you. Sam?
Yeah. So do I support expanding career and technical skills programs? Absolutely. I don't think it's a question of college versus trades. I think, anybody who's been paying attention understands that the reality of careers today is not you get in with a great company and you stay there for 20 years, unfortunately. If you want to get a reasonable market wage, you work there for a period of time with succeeding responsibility. And then once you hit a certain level, you move over to a new company and continue whatever. So I don't think, how do I say this? The era of preparing a child for a single career is maybe been done with, and things are moving so quickly that it makes no sense to prepare for jobs that will be automated in, next week. What I would like to do is make sure that children have the skills and let's say, the competency to continue mastering new skills as they proceed through life, right? I mean, if you have the experience of, I didn't think I could do wood shop, and then I'm in wood shop and I'm learning how to do this, and I understand now if I just tutor myself underneath somebody, I can be successful in this. And then I had the same experience when I was learning music, or had the same experience when I was doing this. I think that sort of experience for our children is going to be critical, especially in the current workforce dynamics, where you don't really get to pick your career. It's what's needed and what can you bring to the table. So that's been my experience. I would like to see an increase in these programs, but specifically tailored not to tracking people away from, well, I'll stop there.
Jules, you get to wrap this one.
Awesome. So as a grown-up who has worked in several different industries, I believe I agree with what Sam is saying. We can't just prepare a child for just one industry or just one way. I didn't go back to college until I was 42. And now I have a bachelor's and a master's, and I'll be starting on my doctorate. So just because I don't go into college at 18, 19, 20 doesn't mean I won't go into it at 30, 40, or 50, right? So I think that what's important is that we have the future sight to think about the upcoming positions, such as those that are in carpentry and those that are in teaching and those that are in nursing. Whereas 5 years ago, I think we learned a significant lesson, I would hope, when we had a nursing shortage, and we still honestly do. We also have a teacher shortage still. So I think the average adult, it's said that they have about 7 different careers at this point. So statistically, so I just think that it's important that we give kids all of those different options, that we learn from the Ednas Ednas, because the Ednas are the ones when we're stuck and we're not sure exactly where to go, we need to go and talk to an Edna. And maybe we need to go and talk to somebody that's also a college administrator, you know, and make sure that they know that they have more than one option, and that just because they choose one path in the beginning, they're not stuck. Because that's another thing that we need to make sure of, and that there's no wrong answers in what the path is that they're choosing.
Thank you. Well, speaking of Edna, you're up next. What types of support should be given to those schools which are struggling with academic performance?
Oh, I think that they really, giving more money is not the answer for them struggling with academic performance. Um, their academic performance is still entrenched on the educators in that system and the leadership of those organizations. It is critical that leadership supports teachers. And when leadership is supportive, teachers supporting teachers to be happier beings in their school systems, then you find that the school system itself flourishes.
Okay,
That's my answer to that.
good enough. Joe, how about you?
Could you repeat the question for me?
Absolutely. What types of support should be given to those schools which are struggling with academic performance?
Well, as I talked about earlier, in 2017 we had 13 assistant administrators compared to 3 in Olathe, a much larger district. So if the teachers are struggling, many in the administration building have come out of the world of teaching, and maybe it's time that we look at having them re-enter the classroom. Again, we've got a very high turnover rate in the Raytown School District with our teachers. There's a lot of reasons behind that. I've spoken to many former teachers that reached out to me as a whistleblower when I was writing, and the pay was not the reason. It was the lack of support from administration. And it's a multifaceted problem. But say what they did, they renamed the assistant superintendent in the Raytown School District rather than changing that. But you figure we had 10 people at the time at $125,000. That's $1.25 million if you got rid of those 10 people in the administration building. How much money would that free up for salaries for teachers to entice them to stay here?
Thank you. Bobby, your thoughts?
Say the question again, please.
Yes, ma'am. What types of support should be given to those schools which are struggling with academic performance?
Well, here's my thinking on this. If you are in a network of schools, so your districts are very close and you work together, that's a difference. That's supportive. You can be supportive of a school that is lacking financially. So I would suggest that they would find a school that would be willing to work with them on the situation, and from there they could build up a financial foundation.
This wasn't so much financial as it is just academic.
Academic. Okay. Well, say the question again for me then.
Certainly. What types of support should be given to those schools which are struggling with academic performance?
Okay. So they're struggling with academic performance.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would still use the same analogy of a partnership with a school district where they would work with me in the academic area.
Okay.
Because I think you don't survive by yourself. You survive with another person.
Good. Thank you. Jules?
So the kind of support that I think that if we have a school that is struggling academically, that's when we bring in our AmeriCorps and our nonprofits to have tutoring. Because, in order for a school to be successful, we can't just rely on the administrators, those that are in leadership, nor can we just rely on the teachers. We also have to rely on the parents. Part of education, and I said this all the time when I was teaching, I'm here to educate you and I can give you all the tools, but you have to pick those tools up and use them. And so we need to make sure that we're supporting through tutoring exercises, partnering with those nonprofit organizations to come in alongside and maybe to tutor specifically to those tests that, what those testing outcomes are that we're looking for. So we can be supporting our administrators, so we can be supporting our teachers, and so that we can be supporting our students and their parents as well. Because otherwise, any other thing that we're going to be able to do when it comes to that is we're going to be putting pressure on our teachers and pressure on our students. And I don't think that that's always going to be the best outcome. I think that that support system needs to be one where we've got others that are coming in that maybe have done this successfully, or where we have seen that before and after school tutoring has been successful in many other school districts around us. And that's why I brought it up, is I looked into how we could raise our test scores. So
Thanks very much. Jordan, you're thinking on this?
Yeah, no, I think so again, as my time as a teacher, we had just a few cross district meetings, but there definitely are going to be some schools that are higher performing in certain areas and other schools that aren't. And I think as a district, we need to see each other more. I know for a fact I only saw Raytown South teachers only like probably about 3 to 4 times a year. When we need to be in a little bit more communication. Hey, how are you teaching this? I'm struggling. Teaching this section in algebra. How can you help me? And really get our best teachers out there. Making sure that our best teachers are helping other teachers out. I definitely do think, though. I thought Jules brought up a great point. As a teacher is 50-50 for the learning for students, the care for the students. I do see kids, 8 hours, almost 40 hours a week. But during that other times, we need to make sure that parents are also on board of their learning and up to date with their learning. And that's why I do believe that maybe we need to have lessons out there for parents. I talked to a couple residents lately, and they said, what, the math is confusing now. It's not the same math that I learned. Well, maybe if we help out these parents and show them some videos, show them some steps for them to understand, then they can say, hey, Johnny, I get your homework. I can really help you. And then that brings that community sense of like spending that bonding time to talk about their homework. It's a 50-50.
Thanks very much. Sam, you get to close this one.
All right, wonderful. You can see I'm turning into a pumpkin. It's 8 o'clock, and my screen automatically changes the tone to eliminate the blue light.
Are you going to go to sleep?
Yeah. Well, typically this is when I start my my work, now that the toddlers are asleep, or the deep work, as they say. But enough about me. I really liked what Jules had to say regarding tutoring. I think that kind of hit the nail on the head. The way that I think about this problem is really with the lens of Bloom's 2 sigma problem. If you're unfamiliar with it, you can Google it, it'll pop up. Essentially, the issue is when you teach a classroom of students, there's going to be a wide range of academic outcomes for those students. If you tutor a child one-on-one, that child will consistently score in the top like 97th percentile in that classroom.
right.
So if we just tutor all the kids, they have great outcomes. Isn't that wonderful? Not really cost effective though. So there are some strategies like that work. Outside of that, there's some really reasonable teaching methodologies that help bridge that gap. And that's really the lens that I would say, as a board member, first, it's talk with your teachers. Hey, what works for you? Here are some options that we think from a research-backed analysis will help bridge this gap. What would you want to do? You tell us what you want to do, and then our job is to support you through policy and through as many resources as we possibly can provide, and then support you. And then to some degree, hold teachers accountable to it. And I'm not saying, you got to punish them or do this. I'm just saying, like, talk with them, check in with them. Hey, what's working? What's not working? Do we have to adjust course? Do we have to do this? Do we have to do that? But this is not rocket science. We've known about it since the 1960s. We just have to have the will to do it.
Thanks very much. The clock on the lower right-hand part of my computer says that we've spent an hour and a half hashing over some questions here. And I got to say, I'm really impressed with everybody's engagement and ideas and energy about this. It's terrific to see. I'm so glad we had all candidates show up to the forum too. Makes us feel good. So I think what we want to do now is do closing statements. And the order I have in front of me says, Jordan, you get to lead off.
Oh, this is 2 minutes, right?
This is 2 minutes,
Nice.
minute 59.
Again, I just recently taught at Raytown. I've met multiple different teachers, multiple parents, kids, and I love Raytown. I bleed Raytown. I definitely bleed blue. So, sorry for my Raytown South people. But I have friends over there. I have people coming to me and talking to me about what the struggles that are going on here currently at Raytown. And I've always cared deeply about education. I care about kids more than I care about almost anything. And I think that I truly am the best candidate here. And I hope I get you guys' vote on April 8th. Um, I know Raytown through and through. I understand what we need. I understand the supports that a board member can help, because the board really does have a lot of policies that truly do affect our students and do affect our teachers. And I truly believe that with my educational background, with my master's degree, and with my time here, that I can truly help out this school district. I'm seeing a slight rise currently right now, and I truly want to throw my hats off to this new administration on that. But I definitely think I can be an asset to make sure that we take that next step. My biggest thing that I've always wanted for Raytown is I'm tired of all the negative stories. I'm tired of everybody talking about, the negative things about Raytown. And I want us to be in a positive light. I want to be compared to a Lee Summit, to a Park Hill, to a North Kansas City, a Staley, any of these kind of school districts around the area. And I truly believe that if you put me in that board position, I will help us get there. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Jules, you're next.
Thank you so much. Listen, I think that what it's going to take to make a difference for our school district is having someone come in that has a great deal of knowledge in strategic partnering, someone who can work with businesses and nonprofits, and that can take up the I don't know, the banner or whatever you want to say within the board itself. As a board member, you are just one person amongst many. So you have to be winsome, and you have to also win over those other board members into what it is that perhaps you are thinking and saying. So we all can sit here and say a million different things today, but what really matters is that we are looking as statesmen for what is in the best good for all of the students, all of the parents, all of the residents of Raytown, because how our school board is doing, it affects our students, it affects our teachers, it affects our administrators, but it also affects the citizens of Raytown because they are paying in their taxes for our schooling. And furthermore, it also affects how our home prices are affected. And so I think as an overall package, as statesmen, we have to look at what overall is going to be in the best and better good for Raytown. I believe that as someone who has been an executive, as a teacher, as a grandparent, and as a parent, that I will do my very best to work together with the other board members in order to come up with the best plan for the best Raytown that we've ever seen. I want to be, as Mr. Jameson said, I want to be seen as the next best, Olathe and Overland Park and Lee Summit and all that. And I want people to be fighting to come to Raytown School District. And I think that I can do that. So I hope that you will vote for me on April 8th.
Thanks very much, Jules. Sam?
Yeah. My primary goal in doing this is to serve my community. I have a vested interest, and then I have two little ones that'll be shortly joining the K through 12 population. And I think in solving this complex problem, the first step is letting the children know that they're worth good food. As Jordan mentioned, we have this amazing chef quality restaurant, Cinder. we have the institutional knowledge to be able to serve good food. Let's do it for our children. This is, it's just the right thing to do. And anyway, maybe that's enough there. My vision for Raytown is, I think we can be a world-class educational system. I don't think we need to be concerned about open enrollment. I don't think we need to be concerned about what we can and cannot have. I think we can be attractional and not having to force children to show up to school, but say, hey, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you. This is going to be something that's worthwhile, that's engaging. There's a lot of opportunity today. And when the K through 12 institution was first implemented, it was designed to help agricultural workers be prepared for the factory setting. Today, we have a different sort of plethora of jobs available to us. And again, we need to renegotiate the social contract between our district and our community and say, these children are our future. How do we best prepare them for that? And for me personally, I think it comes back down to loving your neighbor, serving others, doing what's best, speaking the truth. Like these are the classic truths that we've known for millennia. And as long as we're instilling that and giving them good practical skills today, I know they're going to be successful. So that's really my goal. And I would love to earn your vote. And if not, I hope I at least prompt the school district to get really good nutrition in for next year's school year.
Thanks, Sam. Edna, how do you feel on your closing statement here?
As a candidate for the Raytown School Board, I'm driven by a deep passion for service, leadership, and the success of our student families and staff. My mission is centered on fostering academic excellence, supporting educators, prioritizing equality, and restoring trust within the district. To achieve these goals, I really believe in the power of collaboration among three key stakeholders, and that's students, parents, and businesses. Together, we can forge a balanced partnership that strengthens the Raytown School Board and builds a striving community. And when this three-chord ensemble is put together, we can do nothing but strengthen our teachers. Our educators are so very important, so very, very important. And every child deserves access to a high quality education in a safe and inclusive environment. Teachers should be empowered to inspire with confidence. Families must feel engaged in their children's education, and schools should serve as the pillars of hope and opportunity for the entire community. A vote for Edna is a vote for education. So vote for me on April 8th.
Thank you very much. Bobby, your closing remarks.
Thank you. I am running again for Board of Education because I've started a work with the ISS and OSS that I want to continue. So I am seeking the votes of those that are listening and those that are not listening, that will hear this message later on. I'm seeking your vote to vote for Bobby Salisbury, because the vote for me is a vote for the well-being, the health and the well-being of our district. Therefore, I seek your vote for me on April the 8th.
Thank you very much. Are you done? I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
I wasn't done. I was pausing.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So I encourage you to vote for me so that I can continue to work on the policy committee and acting policies that will benefit our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Joe, you're the last man standing.
Well, thanks for the opportunity tonight. I appreciate it. In my time as an alderman from 07 to 2015, I served 2011 and 2012 as mayor pro tem or president of the board because of my ability to get along with people and to build consensus. I think what we need to do really is take a common sense approach, take a deep breath, and take a common sense approach to what's going on. The stories about Raytown, some of them we deserve, many of them we don't. But if we continue to push the status quo within our schools that produce people that have done great things, not only in the Kansas City area, but around the country. And, these children, as they attend the schools, we're preparing them for the workplace. And as many of the business owners around here talk about, they're hesitant to hire Raytown children because they can't do basic things like count change, and they don't know how to do math. And so I think as the adults in the room, it's important that we have an all hands on deck approach to helping these children attain the future they deserve. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Candidates, thanks again. When we get full participation in any race, we feel the dialogue gets so much better. And thank you for all the time that you put into this, and thank you for being willing to serve the public as you are. Anitra, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, audience, for your interest in the April 8th election. Thank you, candidates, for participating in our forum. The recording of this forum will be available on YouTube probably tomorrow sometime, and you can go through the League's website, lwvkc.org, or just go into YouTube and put in LWVKC. Please take time to share this forum with your friends and neighbors, your mother-in-law, and what you have learned from the forum. And remember that you can always look at 411.org to find the information on the different candidates. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you so
opportunity.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.